allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have one guest. Right here. Any public comment on the agenda item? Seeing none. Can we have a motion, please, for the approval of the February 15th minutes?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, do we have any action items from the executive session?
No action items, Mr. Chairman, but I have to report that we had a meeting prior to the meeting that brings us here today. We began at roughly 11:30. We had an information session on operational matters where the board with a brief but no deliberations occurred. We had an executive session where the board was briefed on its legal obligations. And I also discussed, as an executive session matter, the bankruptcy litigation and mediation. I touched briefly upon some of the state cases, specifically the case that's pending in Delaware County Common Pleas Court, which is the Chester Water Authority versus Aqua and the City of Chester. That was the case that Judge Whalen put on his trial list last month. No further report.
Thank you. We have item 8A, which is from the Chief Financial Officer's report. It's a request to approve the expenses by function report, item 8A. May I have a motion for that?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item, we have two sub-items. 9A is a request to approve proposal from Schneebel Engineering, LLC. It's an on-call dam engineering services for the Pine Grove Dam for $42,000. Also, there's item B, request to adopt a resolution to provide the annual highway restoration and maintenance bond for PennDOT. I'd like to have two motions, one for item 9A, so if we can have that first.
So moved.
I'm sorry, yeah, 9A.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Then can we just move right into 9B? Another motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 10, the executive manager's report. There's one item, and it's a termination of the March 16, 2020 emergency declaration and continuity of operation plan. So basically, it's a motion to bring things back to normal post-COVID. May I have a motion for that, please?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 11 is new business. Do we have any new business to discuss today? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on. Old business?
Yes. Gotcha.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to go back and talk about the strategic plan. Back in October, we were given a copy of it. And at that time, we decided to delay kind of any kind of approval to let the new executive leader, Darryl, come on and get his input into it. And So I just want to bring it back here on the table. I have some questions. I'm still new here. I don't know how the old plan worked. And so I just have a few questions. I want to just get some clarity. And first, I want to thank everybody who gave input to the plan. I know that's always a big undertaking, and I know the executive team and the board were a big part of that. So thank you for that. The prior plan had 8 objectives and 41 KPIs. So my question is in the prior plan, how did we track those KPIs, key performance indicators?
Mr. Chairman, just to point out to you, the items on the agenda are designed to be matters that are acted on by the board. It's for things that are just for general informational purposes. There's no legal prohibition to discussing them here, but this is not the usual forum. So one of your options is to discuss them here. The other is to ask the appropriate members of staff to get involved and to get information or give Mr. Herford the answers directly. So,
Yeah, so on that, I propose that we table any discussion for our next executive session. And then whatever questions are asked, we can deal with them at that time.
I'm fine with that. I'll submit my questions ahead of time so people have an idea what I'm looking for. To Darryl. And so we can pick it up next month then. Okay, I appreciate that. I know it's been a long day already, so, it's Friday, so.
well, I just
maybe
want
the venue
to
is
add
better.
that to it. May I be permitted to comment on 10A?
On 10A?
Yeah, the determination of the emergency declaration. So that was a pretty scary time here when that happened, and I think that the board and the authority staff deserves a great deal of compliments for how they performed during that time period. I mean, I have on my visor the permission that I got from Mr. Krupiak to be allowed to drive. How quickly we forget about the restrictions that we have faced, or that Mr. D'Agostino sitting next to me spent most of his time trying to find a way to buy masks and rubbing alcohol and I forget what else, but he got so good at it to the point where we were getting calls from the 911 center in Delaware County to find out where we were buying things. But everybody came through very, very well. A lot of the things that were part of that emergency declaration and continuity of operations, we just came back to regular operations naturally. We didn't have a board vote. The legal reason I recommend doing this now was because we're getting requests from sewer utilities to start doing shutoffs again, and there was a strong recommendation, if not a requirement, by the governor back in March of 2020 to stop doing them, and we did. So for that period of time, we haven't done that. So this would give the authority staff the ability to respond to the requests of the sewer authorities to start doing those shutoffs for their benefit. I think we've adopted some different collection practices to try to avoid that altogether. That's a pretty drastic remedy. But it is a remedy that we need, especially in situations where there are landlord-tenant issues, because sometimes there's a tension between who those two parties have decided is going to pay for the water bill. So, but I think we've been working through that. But it was necessary to legally end that official statement. What's interesting is that in a right-to-know case that we had with Aqua, they took the position that the Chester Water Authority did not have the ability to take or to declare an emergency. I think what they meant was that we didn't have the ability to declare an emergency under the Emergency Management Act. I think we do have the ability to declare an emergency under the municipalities planning, the Municipality Authorities Act. That's pretty clear. Although it doesn't expressly say that, it just says we have the we can do all acts and things necessary or convenient for the promotion of its business and the general welfare of the authority to carry out the powers granted to it by this chapter or other law. So I think that there's a sound legal basis that the legislature gave us, that general delegation of authority. But believe it or not, under a law passed by the Pennsylvania legislature, no water or sewer authority in Pennsylvania is specifically listed as having emergency declaration powers. So perhaps that's something that we could ask the legislature to remedy. Thank you for the opportunity to put that into the record.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment about the strategic plan?
Mm-hmm.
Because the planning committee met yesterday, and that was one of the topics. To my understanding, we will be getting a revised strategic plan real soon. Am I correct, Mr. Chairman?
I think the plan actually did not include information systems.
Right.
And I think that's the last revision in the plan that will update.
Right.
Okay, any more old business or other, any public comment? Mr. Carey? Sure? All good? Okay.
Sure.
I got a comment.
Okay,
It's our sister authority, which is the Stormwater Authority, will be holding their groundbreaking at Memorial Park, March the 18th, which is Monday, at 11 a.m. If you know about stormwater, we want to make sure that that area, especially the Memorial Park area, is not flooding out the neighborhood as it has been in numerous years. So, you're all invited to come on down.
Thank you. What time is it at?
11 o'clock. Right there on Ingle Street, right closer to the, closest to the train tracks.
Sure.
Behind the Martin Luther King Inn, bus. So that's the general, by the library.
With the library.
okay, any other comment or other matters? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the meeting is adjourned.